fasting and dieting can actually, a plant-based diet and fasting and lifestyle medicine is the panacea, the remedy that we are all looking for, but we haven't realized it yet. This is Frugal Health Podcast, and it's a pleasure to be today introducing Dr. Joe Fuhrman, a pioneer in the plant-based movement and also a big inspiration and a big motivation and education for me 18 years ago when I changed my whole lifestyle and healed myself of several chronic diseases. So without more belongings, I will let Dr. Fuhrman speak a little bit. So tell us just a little bit about you before we start, Dr. Fuhrman.
Well, thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, as you know, I've been doing this many years. I'm now 70 years old, and I got involved with via the American Natural Hygiene Society and reading all of Dr. Shelton's works when I was a child in my teens. So I've been doing this for more than, I could say, almost 60 years now, right? And I went to medical school with a specific intent to be a physician specializing in nutritional medicine. And I've had a very rewarding and exciting career over the last 40 years. And what makes it so exciting is having the tools to help people, so that people who come with me with headaches, with asthma, with rheumatoid arthritis, with heart disease, with diabetes, with high blood pressure, that you can get well and make a complete recovery. So and I was one of the original founding members of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which has now grown to take care of thousands of physicians now on board in the United States with this organization. And I've written 12 books, 7 of which have become New York Times bestsellers. And my television shows on public television in the United States has raised more than $70 million for public television. So a huge amount of exposure, and people are familiar with my work, and which means that I've been very blessed to have touched hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives, and for the better, which I'm very proud of that. And now I have a retreat in San Diego I live in San Diego, where people can come here and stay with me for a month or 2 or 3 to get well. And usually the people that come here are most often, they're overweight people who have diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease or some medical condition that they're hoping to lose weight, recover their health, and learn the tools they need to succeed on the path to better health for the rest of their life. And one of the foundational principles I'm teaching here is that the same dietary portfolio that slows aging and maximizes human lifespan, also when applied therapeutically to a person with a disease, can enable them to make a recovery and enable the miraculous self-healing powers innate in our bodies. So when we live super healthfully, we can get well, and we can also live longer. So you and I maybe are not sick right now, but we're just doing this because it's fun to live longer and be healthy and maintain our physical power and mental faculties into our later years, pushing the envelope of human longevity. But we can use these advancements in modern nutritional science to aid people and help them make recoveries and get rid of food addictions and lose weight and keep the weight off forever. And of course, what I'm saying is that these advances that are now supported by science have passed where, let's say, traditional natural hygiene has been. It's gone to, we have more evidence today, more knowledge, more tweaking of the fine print here. And now we have, with this gives us this unprecedented opportunity to live longer than humans can, much longer than the blue zones, for example. Blue zones are areas of the world where they live somewhat longer than standard United States and Western Europe and common industrial and city centers where people live a certain lifespan. Blue zones, they live longer than that, but not that much longer, only about 7 to 9 years longer in most places, or 6 to 8 years, 6 to 9 years longer. But what I call a Nutritarian diet with more specific and detailed recommendations can enable people to predictably live between 95 and 105 years old, centering around that 100-year mark instead of centering around the 80-year mark, which is more common in most places around the world.
Nice. So you talk a lot about GBOMBS. That would be like what you think could enhance even more the longevity of the blue zones?
Yes, the blue zones are consuming things that aren't ideal to eat, like white flour and oils and things that may shorten lifespan. And lots of people in the blue zones are still overweight, because of that reason. But they're eating a lot of foods with no nutritional value. And our longevity is linked to the nutritional concentration of our cells. What's the nutrient density of phytochemicals and antioxidants in our cells? The more empty calorie foods we pour on our food, like oil or white flour or sugar, the more we're diluting our nutrient density. But yes, the word GBOMBS is an acronym for those 6 foods that have the most scientific evidence to prevent cancer and to enable the cell to keep cancer, you could say methylation defects that could accumulate in the cell, causing the cell to become cancer prone. So these are foods that directly enable cell machinery to prevent the accumulation of methylation defects and to remove carcinogens and to fix broken DNA crosslinks and to activate the self-healing mechanism in the cell, which now we used to call it, remember in hygiene, they used to call it the magic ability of the cell to heal itself. And now we know there is scientific terminology for the NH2 the NF2 transcription factors, for the ARE, the antioxidant response element. We know what the pieces of the cells and how they work to help repair damage, to remove carcinogens, to repair broken DNA crosslinks, to refix methylation defects. So we know how to activate those genes to repair the cell. And of course, what scientists now call gene silencing, how we can silence abnormal parts of the gene that could lead to disease, or we can inherit these gene defects that may hurt people or may cause disease. We know that with the right food substances and chemical substances from food, we can suppress those areas that are abnormal. That's called gene silencing. And these nutrients are found in GBOMBS, and these foods are greens. The G stands for greens, and that refers to green cruciferous vegetables, but also lettuce and other foods that are non-cruciferous, because it's that combination now of lettuce and other non-cruciferous greens with the cruciferous greens that fully enable the healthiest microbiome and the robust, you can say, intraepithelial lymphocytes that live behind the villi of the small intestines. We activate that immune system for more protection against infection and the chemicals, bacteria, microbes, viruses coming into the body. That's those intraepithelial lymphocytes are the defenders at the gates of the castle, and they are not fully activated without exposure to enough green vegetables. And so we're both different, various types. So lettuce itself is even a superfood because it's the richest source of sulfoquinavose, which fuels the growth of these healthy bacteria in the gut. We'll talk about that later. Then you have, of course, GBOMBS, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So we're talking about the legume family of beans, not just, soybeans and chickpeas and lentils and red kidney beans. And we're talking about using cooked beans as well as raw sprouts, like seeds we could sprout, or mung beans and things we could sprout, that combination. And then the onion family, which includes scallions and onions and leeks. And then the mushrooms, many assortments of mushrooms, mostly that we eat cooked. And then, of course, seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds that supply our body with a lot of powerful longevity-promoting substances. And then berries, which represents the fruits with the most data to protect against dementia and to protect against cancer. So we want to have those colorful fruits, which includes cherries and pomegranates and other richly colored fruits.
Nice. That's a good point. I also believe that we could improve the longevity of the blue zones, but we still don't have the data, right? Like, I remember I see you talking about Dr. Shelton, for example, dying of he died earlier for like such a healthy lifestyle and diet, right?
Well, we know why. We understand now why some of those early hygienists had these medical conditions, because even though they ate healthfully, because I became the physician caring for these people as they got older. And when they developed some neurological problems like Parkinson's or dementia, we did the blood test and we found their omega-3 index was exceptionally low. So even though the natural hygiene type diet of all this natural foods would prevent cancer and heart disease, it did not give them the right fatty acid balance to protect brain size and brain resistance to neurological senescence with aging, because a low omega-3 index could potentiate the brain's susceptibility to certain toxins in the external environment. Like there are certain chemicals that can cause dementia and Parkinson's. But what I'm saying right now is that a low omega-3 index is associated with brain shrinkage and dementia. And we have more than a dozen studies to document that. So we combine this rich phytochemical, rich plant-based diet with following the omega-3 index and using the judicious use of a vegan-based omega-3 EPA and DHA fatty acid to make sure we keep that omega-3 index at least above 5 to give you in that ideal range.
But do you think that vegans couldn't get with like flax seeds or chia seeds because of the conversion to from ALA to EPA and DHA, right?
Right, that's very genetically dependent. So some individuals do convert enough, and some individuals can make enough DHA, and their omega-3 index can be favorable just with flax seeds and chia seeds, walnuts and greens. But most people cannot. Most people don't have such a favorable genetic. And that's why most of the Parkinson's affected. Dr. Sidwa got Parkinson's, Dr. Shelton got Parkinson's, other famous people in the health food movement got Parkinson's, Dr. Vetrano got dementia, Dr. Joy Gross got dementia. All these people that were our mentors that you and I knew and loved and advocated healthy living lived somewhat longer, but their lives were cut short by the lack of knowledge about omega-3 fatty acids, because they didn't. So when we don't want that to happen to people anymore. So now we've really been able to iron down that Achilles heel of the natural hygiene movement to enable people to use all the good things and not have that one Achilles heel cause a problem.
Nice, nice. Yeah, each generation we get to know more about hygiene and how to improve it, right? So they did their best as far as they could. I remember Shelton saying that only nuts have protein in it, so we had to eat a lot of nuts, and of course, like, yeah, they didn't have a lot of scientific knowledge, but at least they were seen as quackeries, and nowadays we could be seen as cutting edge science, right? Because we now know that they were right, even they didn't have the labs, how to examine like blood work to see that they were like in the right direction. So
that's correct. We have much more information we can collect, and we can see individual differences among people and make certain tweaks. But they were right on about the nuts and seeds, because one of the most powerful scientific evidence from nutritional research over the last 20 years has been the inclusion of nuts and seeds in the diet as a dramatic effect on extending human lifespan. Because most Americans and people in Western Europe and South America get most of their fat from oils and animal fats. And we're saying that on a Nutritarian diet, which I call a Nutritarian diet, I think you may have a different name, but on this type of way of eating, we get our fats from nuts and seeds and avocado, not from oils and animal fats.
No, for sure, for sure. I just meant that by his writings, they didn't know that there was also protein like in fruits and vegetables, but for sure, nuts and seeds are like a must, and I know the science behind it. And
the science behind it show incredible effect on all-cause mortality and dramatic reduction against both cardiovascular and cancer death. And you can facilitate the absorption of the anti-cancer phytochemicals from the vegetables better when you include nuts and seeds with the meal from the fat that facilitates that absorption. But like you were saying, the benefits of putting the whole program together are so remarkable that now that we have the ability to put this program together without any potential deficiencies or insufficiencies from removing animal products mostly from the diet, because now there's a lot of reasons why not only the animal products it make us age faster, but they're also contaminated. Like seafood is a lot of contamination with plastic dumping in the ocean, and with BMAA, which is linked to Parkinson's disease and dementia. The BMAA is growing on the agricultural runoff. All the algae overgrowth in the waterways now produce cyanobacteria overgrowth, which then dumps BMAA into the bottoms of the intercoastal waterways and the continental shelf, picked up by the bivalves and the shellfish that have high concentrations of these brain damaging chemicals in some of these seafood today,
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So I know I have studied your work and I read the data every day, but for people at home, so to complement in a natural hygiene diet, a Nutritarian diet, like a plant-based whole food diet, emphasizing really nutrient-dense foods, you would suggest people to take care of certain nutrients, like for example B12, that if the person chooses to be vegan, it needs to be supplemented, but also to pay attention for the omega-3, or as you said, like not coming from fish, because then you have the pollutants and the extra excess protein, but also like getting it from algae supplements, right?
Yes, there are an algae, the special algae that's grown on sterile conditions in the laboratories. So they make these vegan algae, and I have one that I sell too, that we refrigerate to keep it fresh, that we distribute. That's just to make sure. I got into this years ago to make sure the people I was advising were paying attention to this with a fresh DHA product. So I do recommend the three most important nutrients to supplement on a plant-based diet are B12, zinc, and EPA and DHA, because zinc's linked to protection against infection and cancer in later life. And there's some indication that vegans require more zinc because you have more binding of zinc from the phytates in plants. And there's something, and the immunosenescence and neurological senescence, or in other words, the aging of our immune system and the aging of our brains are retarded, or the aging is slowed when you have more zinc exposure. Or you could say that zinc insufficiency can increase the risk of immunosenescence and weakening of the immune system with aging. So it's one of the things we also pay attention to, because zinc is more readily absorbed from animal products. There is zinc in plant foods, but we're not sure it gives us the ideal amount, especially as zinc absorption goes down as people age. So especially as people get older, to make sure they're having a little extra zinc, I think is also valuable.
Nice. But what about like I have seen some of your lectures on YouTube suggesting that you have seen a lot of plant-based dieters in the long run, after 5 to 10 years, developing diseases and going across the country to see you, to meet with you, so they could have like help in treatment because they were like probably deficient in vitamin B12 and things like that. So for those cases, you would recommend supplements or like including some animal products, because we know that Shelton and the early hygienists were really strict, suggesting a vegan diet, but they didn't know that these details about like the nutrient deficiency that we can go in.
Right. B12 is, of course, I'm recommending every person on a near vegan or plant-based diet should be supplemented with B12. That's most important. It's funny, I once had a person that flew in from Europe to my office in New Jersey, and she had, atherosclerosis and starting to develop all problems with her heart and blood vessels, following Shelton as her guru, a natural hygiene diet. When I tested her levels for homocysteine and B12, her B12 was non-existent. She wasn't supplemented with B12. And I said to her, you could die if you don't take B12. And she said, well, Dr. Shelton says I don't need B12. So she wouldn't listen to me because Dr. Shelton said that. And T.C. Fry, he died of a B12 deficiency related disease as well. He was a strict hygienist from the old school that didn't want to take any supplements, and he passed away. I saw his medical records, and he passed away of high homocysteine due to B12, very high homocysteine due to severe B12, longstanding B12 deficiency.
Yeah, sad. I have seen many raw fooders as well, long-term raw fooders going to deficiency and die as well. Like,
yeah,
if it's not working, you're doing something wrong. Just correct it. Like there's no. I believe there's no ideology that can support like getting killed, dying of like.
It's crazy, Ben. And even here's the thing, and what I'm teaching people now, it's a little different from what a lot of people thought, is that all the people on the raw food diets that were heavily fruitarian, they do well in their 50s and 60s, but as they get to be, 75 and 80 years old, our ability to absorb protein goes down. And by having the diet so high in fruit, it may have been enough protein for them when they were young, but not for them when they're older. And that can create some degree of low immune function, increasing the risk of infection or pneumonia. I'm saying right now that there are like 5 foods in the plant-based kingdom, 5 natural categories of foods, and they all contain a lot of protein except for fruit. So if your diet is mostly like 80 or 90% fruit, as you age, it can be a little low in protein because the 5 categories that are high in protein are nuts and seeds, legumes or beans, intact whole grains, and vegetables. So vegetables, grains, beans, and nuts are all high in protein. The only one relatively low is fruit. So you make your fruit too high, you can exclude the consumption of nuts and beans and greens that are higher in protein. And that's why when people pour oil over their food, they're taking the protein out of their diet, the plant protein out of their diet, because if they had the fat from nuts and seeds instead of from the oil, they'd be getting 10 grams of extra protein from the nuts and seeds along with the fat. You follow me?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. There's no need. Like tonight I just blended sesame seeds in a dressing for my salad. So it's so easy to, introduce dressings. They're way better than the drenching oils like olive oil and all the crap. And it's so more nutrition. It's even more tasty and it's more cheap. I don't realize how people, is so addicted to olive oil and cannot see the truth behind it. But,
Yeah,
it's,
when you eat oil as a source of fat, it rushes into the bloodstream with so many calories that it stimulates the brain, and it accelerates food addiction and overeating behavior. When you eat nuts and seeds as your source of fat, the calories come in at like 1 calorie a minute, not 50 calories a minute. And when the calories come in so slowly, the body can naturally burn it for energy and sustain you through the day, so you're not having to snack or feel like you have to eat again. It makes you more satisfied with what you're eating. And like you're saying, it tastes good. We make like blend an orange with some raw cashews and sesame seeds with some lemon and blood orange vinegar, or take some garlicky tomato sauce and mix in some almonds and some black fig vinegar or balsamic vinegar. We make incredibly great sauces and dressings that are delicious, and we make vegetables taste great. A Thai curry sauce, we're making all these delicious stuff, and it's not like we're living on carrot sticks and celery sticks. We're eating healthy, delicious food that has great flavors,
Yeah. I completely agree. And I agree with you. I have started, I'm still a raw fooder for almost 20 years now. But after the 11th year, with following that blind advice of we get B12 from, bacteria from the raw food we eat, blah, blah, blah. Or I ended up B12 deficient.
You're taking too much risk with that, sure, if you don't.
Yeah, it's crazy. I still eat primarily fruit in my diet. But for sure, over the years, I adapted, including more legumes and, paying attention more to nuts and seeds and living primarily only on fruits and vegetables. And for sure, worrying about B12 as well. And including algae as well, I think people go way too extreme without seeing if something's growing wrong, you're doing something wrong. It's not just like cleansing or detoxing until you die, you know, like it's crazy. But like I have seen Dave Klein and I forgot his name. There was also another raw food pioneer. Like he was 40 years into raw foods and he died recently. Like Herbert Lockhart also. They both died like, you know, after 30 or 40 years being frugivores. So
Yes,
like,
frugivores. It's not good to do that. It could be okay in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you know, when you're young, but when you get older, you got to have more, you should have more protein. So you're having more beans and having more nuts and seeds and greens in your diet as you age. The beans are really helpful as you get older to, you know, to include in your diet.
yeah, and even if the person wants to remain a raw fooder, sprouted lentils, chickpeas, peas, and even the edamame, for example, green soy is really tasty. You know, like you can, or mung beans, for example, they all can be
Yeah,
sprouted
definitely. You
easily.
could do it with, you can, if you wanted to stay that much raw, you could by sprouting some of the things like you're saying, like mung, and you can all, and you can use edamame. But as edamame, it's boiled though. It's not totally raw, right?
Yeah. I don't. I think the ones that you guys sell in the supermarkets in US, it goes through blanching, right? It's 15 seconds in hot
Blanched.
water.
Yes, it's just quickly put in boiling water. Yeah.
Yeah, and then freeze. Yeah, that way is pretty tasty, but like for sure, it's not 100% raw. But like,
Yeah.
I plant some beans also in my garden, some fresh beans that you can eat it raw. They're really tasty, really tasty to include in salad, crunchy, you know, like, and it's a no-brainer for me, like including legumes also in the diet. They are really, you know, nutritious. So we don't have too much more time. So for people at home, how would be a Dr. Furman's day in terms of lifestyle and in terms of diets? What do you do in a common day?
Well, I wake up in the morning and I usually work in the garden. You know, I'm using compost or working on my trees, digging holes and putting, you know, so I'm working in the garden because you know why?
The same, the same.
Because it's the sun is it's not too hot yet. The sun's not too strong. It's a great time to get some work done early in the morning. You know what I mean? When you're out there after you wake up. And then I come back after working in the garden in a couple of hours, an hour or two. And then I'm going to be, you know, eating breakfast and feeding the dog. You know what I mean? And then I'll come back in and do some of my work inside, my business work. And then after lunch, I'm usually doing something after lunch, you know, some kind of work. But then later in the afternoon, after my lunch, I usually have a big salad with a bowl of vegetable bean soup for lunch and some fresh fruit. Like today, I had some mushroom bean soup, and I had a big salad with lettuce and bok choy and red onion, and I had a Caesar dressing made with hemp seeds and cashews and a little bit of dulse, and you know, it was a little bit of Anyway, I had a really tasty dressing. I put a little almond butter in there, but anyway, it was a big salad, bowl of vegetable bean soup, and I had some papaya for dessert. And then once that meal digests, and I'm usually doing my work like we are now, then usually later in the afternoon, I'm doing some exercise, like I'm either going for a strenuous hike, or I'm going to the gym to lift weights, or I'm going laps in the pool, or I'm doing running, or I'm playing tennis, or I'm going skiing, or I'm doing something physical before dinner, usually. So I usually that last bit of hour and a half before, in the afternoon before I eat dinner, I'm doing some kind of exercise. And then for dinner, I'm usually having some raw vegetables that I did not eat at lunch, like peppers and snow pea pods and, you know, something I didn't eat at lunch, with a cooked vegetable dish. Usually it's a wok vegetable dish with mushrooms and onions and green vegetables and different, and with some kind of flavorful sauce, or it could be, you know, sliced zucchini, whatever, some cooked vegetables like broccoli, almondine, or string beans, you know, mixture of vegetables, different types, which include beets and carrots and things like that. And then I'll usually have a small dessert, which may be some whipped frozen fruit, maybe some frozen cherries or some frozen mango or something. And we try to finish eating for the day by 6 o'clock is the latest. I don't eat after 6. So I have like 3 or 4 hours before I go to bed at night to finish digesting the food, because we want to go to bed on an empty stomach and not have food digesting when you're lying down to sleep at night, because you heal, and the longevity promoting effect is enhanced when you're sleeping during sleep, when you're not digesting food simultaneously. So the trick is to eat earlier in the day. So I'm eating breakfast of like a little bit of intact grain with some berries and with some seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds, and a plant milk like an almond, like a walnut hemp milk or something, with a little bit of amaranth or intact in steel cut oats, or some kind of with small amount of grain, berries, seeds, and fruit, of course. And then so that's mostly my day. Eat 3 meals a day. Try not to eat in between meals, and I don't eat after 6 o'clock at night.
Nice, nice, nice. So you're paying attention to chrononutrition and also to chronobiology.
Right, right. We don't want. And I don't want to eat too much. I don't want to overeat at night, because obviously you don't want to eat so much food to make it hard to digest before you go to bed. If you overeat at night, even in the right foods, you could still be you could extend the amount of time it takes to digest the food, and you'd be digesting half the night because you ate too much food late at night, or too much food even at 6 o'clock in the evening.
I think that's a topic that was not well commented, not well talked in the hygienic movement, in the literature, and even the health science and in lifestyle medicine until really recently, right? Nowadays, with the science behind chrononutrition, people are trying to really have early dinners. I do the same, and I also try to not see electric lights after the sun went down, or at least use circadian illumination, lighting. But some of days we have to do interviews and we go all electric lights in. But so
you're not creating a bright environment, even if you're doing something. If you're watching television or doing something, it's a somewhat subdued light environment before you go to bed.
Yeah. I do the same, but I always turn all the lights, just use the TV or the cell phone, and watch some tennis match and start getting ready to sleep.
You play tennis too?
Yeah, I have a tennis court in my yard, actually. I have like 350 fruit trees. I have I have all kinds of
I've got 140 fruit trees.
140? Nice.
I don't have a tennis court, but I'd like to play tennis a lot.
I love tennis. I was actually playing before dinner. I had dinner
because it's great exercise. It's when you play singles tennis, it makes you get a great workout too.
It's the longevity sport.
You're right, because you got to stop and think, and you got to move back and forth. It's really great.
Yeah. Have you seen the data that tennis players live 10 years longer than, for example, soccer? You can improve 4.7 years, and running or swimming, it's 3 years. But tennis is actually correlated with 10 years a longer lifespan.
Well, it's all about what you can keep doing as you get older. You learned the tennis when you were younger. You could keep playing it later in years. And a lot of people are playing pickleball in the United States. But I play pickleball too, but I don't get enough exercise playing pickleball. It's too easy. You don't have to run much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tennis is way more, intense.
And exerting. It makes you sweat,
Yeah. I love tennis. I was so addicted to it when I played, but back then I was into nutrition university. I was always running around Brazil, giving lectures. I couldn't stop. So now that the works, it runs by itself. I focus a lot on I give some attention to my trees and to my tennis court. So if you want someday, if you want to go to Brazil, we can do podcasts here. We can do lectures. We can arrange lectures for you in vegan events. And also we can play tennis together, and you can harvest some I have 10 mango trees, different varieties of mangoes on my yard. I have Sempedak. Yeah, I have Sempedak, durians, and
You have durian? You can grow durian?
I'm trying. The first ones died, but I'm managing to get some. I went to Thailand to eat some durian last year, and there's already 1 meter high the seedlings that I planted from getting there. But I managed to grow a lot of stuff.
I have durian in my freezer right now. I bought it. I bought it frozen. You know what I mean? Frozen durian imported from Thailand.
I love it. Durian is really good.
Yeah. It's delicious. All right. Well, we got a lot in common. See that?
Yeah, for sure. I love tennis. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite sport.
I'd love to come visit with Bill sometime. You set up some lectures and various, some big presentations. I do it here in the States. I just got back from Salt Lake City where I went skiing and I did a presentation to 1,000 people at the university. So it was really,
It would be a pleasure. I'm in contact with all the plant-based medical doctors and nutritionists in Brazil. We have like a huge group, so it would be easy to get you some lectures over here because they all admire your work. And I read some of your books back then, like almost 17 years ago. Your fasting book, Eat to Live, and probably a couple more. And I really agree with the formula. It was health equals micronutrients. I don't remember the formula, but
H equals N over C.
yeah.
Nutrients over calories. You want to eat a diet with a high micronutrient density, right? With a lot of foods, with a lot because it's all about having more micronutrient density in our cells, and that you have to be slim in order to have, because if you dilute with if you have a lot of extra calories and empty calories, not only you're overweight, but your cells are not nutrient dense. Your cells are nutrient deficient to be able to get that large. But in any case, it's complicated, but this is obviously the healthiest way to live, and it makes us so we can enjoy our life into our later years and still play tennis and be active and do the things we enjoy as we get older, not have to give all the things we love to do up. As people, all my peers that I went to school with are either dead or they're couch potatoes and can't do anything. I got to have younger friends to do stuff with, to climb mountains, to go skiing, and to play tennis with. You know what I mean?
I'm 40 and I'm fitter and younger and healthier than I was at 20 when I started hygiene. So, like it's crazy. You probably know the triage theory from Bruce Ames, right?
From what? No, what?
Bruce Ames, that famous scientist,
yes.
He has the triage theory that suggests that the micronutrients are reallocated to essential life-threatening conditions right now, and we end up getting deficient in micronutrients, and that lowers our lifespan, right? We change, the body gets the micronutrients to use it right now in what is really right needed, but it ends up...
It uses what it needs to use for the emergency at the moment, but it doesn't stabilize your stem cells and your telomeres and your longevity proteins. It puts that off. And when we've got it, that's the whole key. So we've got the normal human lifespan should be close to 100 years old. So obviously everybody's doing something. But that's, of course,
I plan to get it 120.
Yeah, I've been doing so many years. The patients I've taken care of that had serious illnesses are now living. They're in their late 90s and around 100. So I have a lot of people that are followers of mine over the last 30, 40 years that are now living that long and doing well,
Nice. Yeah. I completely agree and have lived hygienically, and I will never go back. It's like people don't realize what they're losing, in terms of vitality, well-being, and mental capacity. I learned so much faster. I reversed type 2 diabetes, chronic back pains, chronic allergies, and a lot of other health issues. Because I was actually one of the best in the world in Counter-Strike. I had a similar story to you, but I was not a skater, but a Counter-Strike player. And then I got sick, and then, I started looking for ways to improve my game, and I realized that I was playing bad because I was getting sick. I gained like 30 kilos, like 70 pounds, hygiene saved my life, and a lot of your work was really influential. So the triage theory has a lot to do with your micronutrient formula, with your health formula. That's like for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
it's visionary, right? One day it's a visionary of insights. One day hygiene will be in your work, and all of our works will be recognized as like really pioneer, even in the plant-based movement, because most of the plant-based doctors, they understand the plant-based diet, but they don't understand correctly hygiene or even fasting or chrononutrition, chronobiology. They don't pay attention to all these details.
Yes, they don't have it ironed down as carefully as maybe, but it's still they move people in the right direction.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I have just to throw a thing out there, I have a website with lots of information people can read and get a lot of free information and free recipes at drfurhman.com. So it's a good resource. So I've worked on that for many years, on the internet, an internet-based program. And I even have some of my lectures on the website. People can actually watch lectures, to learn of course, some of my teachings.
Fasting. The only thing I wonder is that I have seen you nowadays saying that you actually gave a small talk to my documentary in English. I asked it for you guys, and you recorded a few years ago with your daughter a small talk that I inserted in my fasting documentary. They got actually like 500,000 views on YouTube or something like that. So like, why you don't agree with fasting over 10 days nowadays?
Well, don't forget, a lot of the people I see are people that are overweight, obese, food addicts. And when they really have to learn how to be repetitive and repeat and keep learning how to live healthfully. When they fast and they don't learn how to live healthfully for a long enough period of time, it kind of like gets their obsessions going about food, and it makes them the diet mentality of fasting and eating, and they yo-yo the weight up and down. It increases the risk of them not staying with it long term if they go onto a fast before they've really mastered this skill of living and eating this way. That's number one. So I usually want people on the diet eating right. I don't start with fasting when they're overweight, particularly. The other reason is I prefer not to put on these real long fasts. If a person needs to fast, I'd rather them fast, 7 to 14 days or 5 to 10 days, and then they could fast again and not deplete their body's immune system and deplete their nutritional reserves so low, because there's a diminishing return the longer you fast as the body. So nutritional reserves, your liver can't deconjugate fat-soluble toxins removed to the kidney. Once you pass, certain time of fasting, it becomes, somewhat a little more stressful, and you're not getting as much benefit by it, except for emaciating the person and removing all their muscle and making it harder for them to build back their muscle reserve and their nutrient reserves. So in that cases, I'd rather a person fast within a safe period of time, eat healthfully. If they need to fast again down the road, they could fast again down the road when they've gained their weight back and make sure they're not losing too much muscle mass.
Nice. Yeah, I agree completely. People overemphasize fasting when they reach out for me as well, because I have a fasting book, a fasting document, a lot of documentaries in Portuguese with fasting. They just think, they're going to fast and solve all their problems. But like, it's not like that. They have to learn the most important part is learning how to live hygienically and not to fast hygienically. But you think that Shelton overfasted you back then?
Well, yes, Shelton was alive when I fasted at his facility in 1974. But Dr. Virginia Vetrano, who's also passed away, was the primary doctor taking care of my case at Dr. Shelton's health school. And she fasted me dangerously too long so I think that it damaged my body. And so definitely was way too much fasting. I was very foolish, and I was only 20 years old. I didn't have to know. I was just listening to her, and I was wondering what I know today, I would have never accepted it to somebody to fast that, or allowed them to fast a teenager that long or something like that, to fast for, over 40 days.
I see. But I read your research on those autoimmune cases and fasting, and they went pretty well. It's like probably the best documented, the best data on the scientific literature of reversal of autoimmune diseases, right? Because there's no pills or, that even you wrote, like they were taking drugs for like maybe 10 years and they actually reversed with.
Right. It's so important to get people to reverse they get motivated to get well, and they'll eat right and fast and eat right and fast. And it really saves their lives, because these drugs that are on long-term cause cancer and are very treacherous medications. So yeah, when you get people with lupus who get complete recoveries, and psoriatic arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, and I've had so many people make complete recoveries from serious autoimmune conditions, autoimmune hepatitis and Sjogren's syndromes. And so in other words, yes, this can be a miracle to set people free. So I had a girl who was on the National Renal Transplant list waiting for a new kidney with a creatinine of 4.2, and she got totally well and she didn't fast. She just did the diet. Just the lupus went away. So that's the kind of things that makes you and I so rewarded we feel so good when we're helping people make recoveries from what if they went the medical route and just took drugs the rest of their life, they'd be in really bad shape. And there's it's so tragic that so many people aren't given the information to at least let them know that this possibility exists. There's complete silence. It's like there's nobody discussing how effective these natural diet and fasting is at enabling people to get well from these serious illnesses.
Yeah, it's bizarre. They are killing people and not letting them aware of the healing capacity of their bodies. It's sad.
Exactly. Well, thanks for all you're doing, and thanks for connecting with me. Good to know you, and hope we continue to have a relationship and moving forward.
For sure, for sure. It would be a pleasure. I run retreats here in my place as well, right? So I have a lot of rooms. If you ever want to come to Brazil, you can eat the fresh fruit out of my trees, and we play tennis every day.
Okay, I'll come with my family and maybe I'll come with my wife and 4 kids.
Yeah, for sure.
But the only problem is my 4 kids have significant others because they're adults. So it's like a whole tribe would have to come down.
It will be a pleasure. No worries. We can record a lot of content and become friends. And actually, the beach in front of us right here, it's actually the stage for the World Tour tournament, the final of the World Tour tournament, the main tournament the main surfing tournament in the world, actually. So it's a beautiful beach as well.
Yeah, but for surfing, my daughters surf. Yeah, that's
nice,
cool.
nice.
All right.
And so it was a pleasure. I'm a big fan of your work. Congratulations for being such a pioneer and a visionary. You influenced not just my health, but a lot of people. And nowadays I can help people even better with your help back then, and even still now. I still watch some interviews now and then. I follow you on all social media. And congratulations. Hope to see you someday. It was a pleasure for the interview. Thank you very much. And hope to meet you one day in person too. Thank you. And become friends.
Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.